Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Houston Ballet, I'd like to welcome you all to Dance Talks. My name is Jasmine Fuller-Kane, and I'm the Director of Development Communications and Publications. Before I introduce our panel, I'd like to give a quick reminder to please silence all cell phones and smartwatches. If you need to exit the theater at any time, the exits are located on the left and right, just behind the seats. Tonight we'll be discussing Ben Stevenson's The Sleeping Beauty, which runs from March 13th through the 23rd, and we'll be focusing on the legacy of the iconic role of Aurora. Moderating our panel tonight is Dr. Elizabeth Klett. You may recognize Elizabeth from the beginning of the season when she moderated the Little Mermaid Dance Talk. Elizabeth is a professor of literature at University of Houston Clear Lake. She received her PhD and master's degree in English literature, and I think she is an expert in literature and dance. And in 2019, she published her second book, Choreographing Shakespeare, Dance Adaptations of the Plays and Poems. Thank you for being here tonight, Elizabeth. On our panel tonight is Lauren Anderson. Although she needs no introduction, before assuming her current role as Associate Director of Education and Community Engagement, Lauren enjoyed over a 20-year career with the company, dancing from 1983 to 2006, becoming a principal dancer in 1990. Lauren has performed leading roles in all the great classical ballets, including Aurora and Ben's The Sleeping Beauty, becoming one of Houston Ballet's most beloved stars in the process. Thank you for being here, Lauren. And tonight, we also welcome another gem of the company, principal dancer Yuriko Kajiya. Yuriko has been with Houston Ballet since 2014 and has also performed many leading roles, including Aurora, becoming an established fan favorite in Houston and around the world. Before coming to Houston Ballet, Yuriko performed with American Ballet Theatre for 15 years and received her dance training at Shanghai Dance School and Canada's National Ballet School. Thank you for being here, Yuriko. And thank you all for being here tonight. It's because of your generous support that we're able to host special discussions such as this. So I will let Elizabeth take it away.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. I'm so honored to be here to talk with Lauren Anderson and Yuriko Kajiya about their experiences dancing the role of Aurora. Before we turn to the interview portion of the talk, I'm just going to speak briefly about the history of the Sleeping Beauty story, so that we can see how it relates to this very modern version that will be performed by Houston Ballet. So like all fairy tales, the Sleeping Beauty tale is not a single story, but part of a long tradition of stories that fall under the Sleeping Beauty or the Briar Rose tale type. There are many different versions of the story that span the globe, retaining certain core elements, but differing in details. So, Sleeping Beauty tales date back at least as far as the medieval period to Scandinavian and Germanic myths, which include the story of Brynhild, or Brunhilda, who's punished with an enchanted sleep from which she can only be awakened by a kiss. So if you're an opera fan, you might know that one. Published versions of the story include Basile's story from the Pentamerone from 1634, Charles Perrault's French version from 1697, and of course the Grimm brothers' Briar Rose from 1812. Bruno Bettelheim, who was one of the 20th century's most prominent critics of the fairy tale tradition, took a Freudian psychological view of this tale type. He argued that it was an allegory of the journey from adolescence into maturity. So in his reading, only after an unexpected loss of blood, when she pricks her finger on the spindle, and a prolonged sleep, does the princess awaken, ready for marriage and motherhood. I know. Feminist critics have had a little bit of a different response. So they have read the story as one that enforces the stereotype of female passivity. So Simone de Beauvoir, for instance, noted the differences between the adventurous, active prince and the passive princess who submits, awaits, and is sound asleep. What I love about ballet, one of the many things I love about ballet, is that it inevitably challenges and contradicts this reading because female dancers are active. they move. So in the ballet, it is Aurora's spirit that provokes the prince to fall in love with her rather than just her passive beauty. Even earlier in the ballet, when she makes her first appearance, when she dances the Rose Adagio with her 4 suitors, it's her impressive strength and power that allows her to remain balanced on point. She accepts the roses from the suitors, but defers choosing any of them, suggesting her playful resistance to the passive feminine role of being chosen in marriage. And so with that in mind, I'm going to ask our ballerinas about their experiences dancing the role of Aurora, which is one of the most challenging in the classical ballet canon. We are going to look at the Rose Adagio in some depth, but overall, I'd just like to start off by asking you both to speak to why Aurora is such a difficult role to perform.
Well, you're about to dance, Aurora. You've been rehearsing her like
Yes.
actively right now. So
And
why don't we
Lauren's
start?
my queen, by the
So,
way,
okay. The thing is, I was Aurora, now I'm her mama.
on stage. Why is it difficult? Oh, it's so difficult. Well, first of all, Sleeping Beauty is 4-act ballet. It's called prologue, act 1, act 2, act 3. And Aurora does appear in prologue, but she was just a baby, so it's not going to be me. So act 1 will be her 16th birthday, and the whole castle and everyone celebrating her. And it's from the first entrance, you know right away Aurora's entrance. And from the very beginning of get-go, the steps are very difficult. Sometimes the ballet, you can ease into some of the steps and make it more and more difficult, but this one, it's, you open it, you get it. It's right away, and it starts with the Rose Adagio. She has a very small entrance of a solo, and then that goes straight into Rose Adagio. And Rose Adagio, you have to be very calm, and you have 4 suitors, and you have to do multiple balances, some very difficult technical things with the suitors. But right before that, you, like I say, has a very small solo. It is small, meaning short, but not easy. You have to show the use and the happiness from the right away from her entrance. So you have to have your energy so high, and you almost have to press your energy down so you can do some very difficult balances and some more things that you have to control. So it's very hard to find your energy up, but you still have to push yourself down and then keep yourself going. And from the Rose Adagio goes into her very long, one of the hardest solo. You also have to be, looks like it's very calm, but your heart's going like this. Like literally feels like your heart's gonna come out of your mouth. Yes, and you can't feel your feet, but you have to look like you're just loving it. So the first act is really Aurora's marathon in a way. She just goes nonstop. Yes, she does go off stage when you don't see her, but when you're off stage, I'm on the floor thinking, how am I gonna get through the next part? It's super challenging. The first act is really a sleeping beast, really.
It is. Not Sleeping Beauty, Sleeping
No.
Beast. Well, you're shot out of a cannon right
Yes.
away. And then like you said, you have to. The thing about the Rose Adagio is you do everything 4 times. So if you mess it up the first time, for you not to know we've messed it up, we got to kind of mess it up 3 more times. Which, of course, isn't the case because you want it to be.
Well, usually you somehow have a very good one, the first one, so your mind going,
Right.
oh, I have to do good the second one.
Yeah,
But
that's what
sometimes it doesn't really work now.
But I think the hardest part to me, I mean, I started doing Aurora pretty young, and I did it a lot because we toured Sleeping Beauty a lot. Houston Ballet did. But when I think about the classical canon, as you put it, there's no real drama. She's pretty one-dimensional, right? I mean, the drama happens to her. Like in Swan Lake, you can get through the technique with the drama, fall off point, dramatic. But, you know, if you fall off point in
You
Aurora,
know,
it's obvious.
you know.
It's real because it's pure classical
Classical.
technique. and in its most simple, elegant, beautiful, effortless
Yeah.
form, but it's probably the hardest thing you've ever done in your life.
It's difficult because you can't hide it.
You can't
There's
hide off
nowhere
it.
to hide.
That's
yes.
what makes it so hard.
I think it was interesting to think, for me, to think about you're playing a character who's 16 at the beginning of the ballet, right? And so, like you were saying, she has all this youthful exuberance, and you have to convey that, but yet also be incredibly controlled. And so that balance must be very difficult.
Well, there's the you know, and then you go, ha. And then all of a sudden you have to be the shy,
Well, your heart's going like
heart
this.
beating out of your chest. Yeah, for sure.
So over the course of the ballet, how would you say that Aurora kind of grows or develops both as a character but also kind of choreographically?
I wouldn't say it's not like Aurora all of a sudden from 16 went to a very different age. No, she just the 100 years has passed, but she is still the same.
She's still 16.
Same person. The 100 years has passed, but the choreography definitely has changed. You'll see it very different from her first entrance solo into her last wedding solo. It's more defined and has it hints a little bit of, oh, she's going to be the queen of this, what that little.
The court. Yeah. So it's when I coach this, I say, okay, you're young in the first act, the first act, and then the second act is the vision scene. So then all of a sudden you become vapor. So it's not like Giselle or Swan Lake, but it's that otherworldly feeling. And then in the third act, you're more grounded. It's what you've been bred for. You're supposed to be the queen, and now you have a British accent and you do the ballet. I mean, it's like that, right?
Yes.
Right. There it is.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. In terms of Ben Stevenson's version of this role, I'm wondering if you have, either of you, had any experiences doing other versions of this ballet and how the Stevenson version might compare with others.
Well, I've only done this one because I've been here for 52 years, so go. Literally.
I have done Sleeping Beauty with American Ballet Theater. Not Aurora, but I've done multiple different other roles with American Ballet Theater. And that was Gelsey Kirkland, Kevin Mackenzie version. And what would it be very different? I guess at that time at ABT was trying to do something slightly more new and maybe a little more advanced, but Ben's is more than 30 years old, correct? Yes. But what's so beautiful about Ben's is it's timeless. You can't tell that this time has gone past, but it still works so beautifully. Not just the choreography, but like just the whole thing with the visual and the sets and costume. It does not have maybe the newest sets and the newest version of, sometimes you use a different projection or this and that, but it still works. It still shows this beauty of his choreography because of that, I think. Yeah.
As well as the link with the Petipa 19th century version.
Yes.
And the sets and costumes are incredible. And of course, we've got one example over here, and that's her tutu from the
Rosa
first act.
Adagio, yes, first
Yeah.
act.
Right.
We've all worn it.
Yes. Probably have your name and my name. And
Well, the sleeves were a little bit different because they had them doubled originally, but with my skin color, they decided there should just be one single instead of double, and then all the girls liked it, so they
The
did.
double.
Well, because you could see the line of the arm better. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What is it like for you to come back to perform the role of the queen? This is your second time, right? You did it in third? Okay.
I know. I sit there and wonder how, and I watch, and I go, how did I ever do that? Because it's the same choreography. I was like, gosh, if I think about, and I'm not saying this for you to say anything different, you don't have to fix anything or say anything, but when I sit there and watch, I go, God, I'm not good enough to be in this company, right? When I think of how good, well, because, you know, when I first started watching ice skating, when they did a double toe loop, it was a huge thing. Now they're doing a quad. The same thing happens in ballet. Okay, so these children are younger, better, you know what I mean, sooner. Like our newest Aurora, Danby.
Danby and our
Oh, and Owie. I mean, they're babies. I mean, I look at you and I think you're a baby, right?
Yeah.
So it's wonderful. It's refreshing. I'm excited. I get to see. I mean, some of them are my students, right? But it just gets harder and harder to go dun 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 dun, dun, you know, and walk without a giddy up in my.
Now, okay, I've
that's
been
the
in
hard
Houston long enough that I saw you dance when I first moved here. I didn't see you dance Aurora, unfortunately, but I mean, I remember you dancing. You were amazing. So,
Hey, but you're
I
talking
mean,
about the queen.
Am I right?
She asked me what it was like to be the queen now.
Fair.
And I rehearsed today, and I said, do they know who's the king? Do they know about who's going to be the king with me? Can I say? I can't? Y'all guess who my king is? Jim Nelson. If you don't know who Jim Nelson is, he's our executive director or managing director. I don't know what they call him, but he's the head money guy. Yeah, he's on that side, right? So I know, that's pretty special, actually. But so we were rehearsing today, and when we got up for the third act, it went, dun, dun, ooh, dun, 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 and then so yeah, it's just getting, you know, because you actually, I know we're just sitting there, but we're not just sitting there. We're actually actively
yeah.
performing, and you know, because you're always on. I mean, from the moment you walk on, you're on, and even when you're standing, you're still on and actively. So it's a lot. I'm nervous. I'm freaked out. I'm nervous because I have to walk. It's easier to dance than to walk, right? You know what I mean? Like
Walking
it's
is
go,
hard, yes.
God, steps up, you know. Yeah.
And you have to manage the gown. So the gown is
And the
exquisite.
Crown, the headpiece,
Yeah.
it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Anyway, Aurora. Let's get back to Aurora.
Well, actually, I was going to ask if you, either of you danced. It sounds like you certainly did, but other female roles in the ballet, and how they might compare. I know there's the Lilac Fairy, there's the Evil Fairy, Carabosse. There's various fairies. So, any other roles that you might have danced, and how they compare to Aurora.
Well, I have done the Lilac Fairy here, and I've also done the Lilac Fairy with American Ballet Theater, and I've done multiple different fairies with ABT and a lot of different group parts, and the Princess Feline for the Bluebird Potatoes. I mean, each role is challenging, but definitely there is no comparison to Aurora's. Just the amount of dancing you have to do compared to Aurora, it's just, you can't compare it, yes.
Yes. So I grew up with this production. Literally, the first time I danced it, I was 18. So not Aurora. The first time I've been in the production, I was 18. So I did, you know, the Pointer Fairy and the Lilac Fairy a lot. I did get to play Carabosse once after I had a baby. And I wish I'd played her more because she's so much fun. The Evil Fairy is Carabosse. And a lot of Auroras and Lilac Fairies.
It was wonderful because 5 years ago, the previous time that you all did this production, I did the dance talk, and we got to talk about the Lilac Fairy and Carabosse and Aurora and how they kind of like all, you know, compared as roles. It's so neat. I actually love that the Evil Fairy in this version is danced, you know, by a dancer, a woman, first of all, because in many versions it's danced by a man, and then on point, and she's really kind of like sexy and powerful.
And she does a Rosadage also.
Does she?
So, yes. So there's monsters. There's 4 monsters. So she does every step 4 times with each of the 4 monsters kind of at the queen saying, I'm going to kill your baby, basically. But yeah.
I never noticed that. That's so cool.
And
See?
the only reason I knew
Learn
that
something
is
every time.
because I all of a sudden had to do Caraboss, and I thought, wow, this is hard because you have to do everything 4 times. Yeah.
Is there something similar with the Lilac Fairy, or?
No.
Okay. She's her own thing.
She's her own thing. The thing about the Lilac Fairy is her variation is very difficult. The end of her variation is very difficult. But you're in point shoes the entire time, and there's moments where you're responsible for telling the story and the audience understanding what you're saying with the mime. I mean, it's all in the Lilac Fairy. If the Lilac Fairy didn't come, we wouldn't have a story, right? She would just prick her finger and die, and that would be it, right? And we'd be done after the first act. But she literally carries the story and helps you believe that there's magic and that everything is going to be okay, right? That's her job. And then she has to find a prince.
She's the storyteller.
She's a storyteller.
Yes.
She's a host.
No, absolutely. She kind of leads the prince to Aurora. She enables the vision. Yeah, that's another thing I love about this ballet. It's just full of powerful female characters. Not only, of course, Caraboss, but also then the powerfully good Lilac Fairy. Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious to hear whether Aurora gets easier as a role over time. The more times that you've danced her, does she get easier? How has your approach to the role changed over time?
It gets easier here, I think, because if you've done it once, you say, oh, I did it. So to the second time, oh, I did it once, so I can push it again. So definitely. But of course, not just Princess Aurora, for any ballet, the experience talks. You learn where you can not relax, but ease through, and how to breathe throughout the solos or the pas de deux, just throughout the ballet. So definitely by doing many different ballets, you just learn how you can carry yourself on stage better.
There's nothing like experience. You learn how to work smarter, and you tell the story better.
In what way?
Well, I mean, you find places to make it yours, and yeah, I mean, like I said, there's nothing like experience. So you know exactly what's coming. So you're not as freaked out in the mind, like, oh no, the balances are coming. You're like, okay, the balances are here, right? It's more like that. You're accepting of the situation. It's not you make it happen. It's not just happening to you. So you're a little bit more in control. So there's a little more refinement every time you do it. I feel. I've watched you. I've watched you over the years. I can say that from watching and from feeling.
Yeah, when you're young, there's also the positive of being young and youth and maybe fearful. You just do it. Sure. But I think when you have gained more experience, you know what works on stage and how to show works the best for you. You learn so much from doing so many performances, and not just Sleeping Beauty, but just dancing different roles, and will gain something back obviously for Sleeping Beauty too.
And of course, if you've done it once, then you're like, well, I got through it. So
yeah.
You can do it again.
Yes, at the same time, but you go, oh, can I do it again? You start to doubt yourself. Can I do it better than last? Because you always want to do obviously better than the last time you've done it. So the last time I've done it was with Lauren 4 years ago. Actually, that was the last performance we did before we shut down for COVID. And so now, of course, I'm telling myself, well, my goal is to do better than when I danced last time.
Okay, well, maybe we should look at some of the Rose Adagio, and we're going to play the video, and you're going to see Yuriko dancing in it. We're going to maybe, if you want to pause it at any point and kind of break it down, we can do that. So please feel free, either of you to
this would be 4 years ago. So just, I will be better next. I'm working for better than this.
It looks amazing. I'm just here to tell you, it's already amazing. So yeah, we'll just start writing. Great. Do you want to stop there just for a sec? So, I mean, I would love to hear your thoughts about, why this series of long balances. I mean, obviously it's to display the ballerina's incredible skill and strength, but just any other thoughts about like why those are there, how you approach doing them, anything you want to share with us.
Well, this time we were so fortunate to actually have Ben with us for 3 days rehearsing the ballet. He got to see 3 casts, and I was one of the casts that Ben rehearsed us. And I actually have a completely different approach towards the Rose Adagio than this time. So I will be very different, just So I think I was more focused on maybe the technique when I did it last time, but maybe because I have more experience from different ballets than I was focusing more of the story at the time in my mind, but now I'm watching it, it's definitely not enough. So I would definitely apply more towards what Aurora is feeling towards the 4 suitors for each, let's say like when there's this part that she takes his hand one by one to the 4 suitors, and it makes sense because when Ben was saying that, there's like Lauren was saying, there's 4 steps happens 4 times. If you do it the same, it's boring. Because 4 different suitors, you have a different for 4 different suitors. You may like the first one, but you may not like the other one. You have different feelings. And also she's 16 and she was just being told that from her father, the king, say, we want you to get married and we want you to find your man from one of these suitors. And it happened so fast. How can you just say, okay, I just want this one? You cannot. And she's only 16, so I think every hand that she takes, I'm approaching as, can I take his hand? Maybe she has never touched a suitor's hand before, so it's this young feeling of like, oh, do I like this one? Maybe I don't. But I think throughout the Rose Adagio, by dancing it longer, by the end, I think you can see her confidence she feels more comfortable. So I think I'm going to try to approach more of that into this Rose Adagio, and also this balance that I just did, which I was not happy when I was watching. Not because I'm not trying to balance, especially the first time. There's going to be a second one that the suitor goes around, and then there will be time to balance. But this part just happened not even a minute when Rose Adagio started happen. So she should have this feeling of, do I like this suitor? Maybe, she has this mixed feeling about it. So she shouldn't be so confident, I think. She should have oh no, maybe I don't want to touch him. I don't know. So I'm gonna have more of a play with the feeling and play more with the music instead of going for a long balance, which I will have more chances to do that at the end of this Rose Adagio.
And I can say this because I've only done it with Ben. In the beginning, he said exactly that, right? They're all different. You've never ever touched. someone else's hand besides your parents. You're the princess. You don't touch your friends. You don't touch people. The only people you touch are the king and the queen, right? If you touch anyone, and your nurse. So that is absolutely the first time that's why we go da, 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 and we look at the hand. And you go, oh, okay. And that's why you just go with the music. By the end of it, you're absolutely more confident because you have, yeah, and you do all the pirouettes and all that. You'll see. Are we going to watch the whole thing?
We are going to watch the whole thing.
Then that's,
Yeah,
then, honey, we need
absolutely.
to be quiet because it's long.
Okay, thank you. Can you pause it, please, Morgan?
This part right here is the scariest part of the Rose Adagio.
That was evil.
This is evil. I think every ballerina goes right before this part right here. I don't know why this is so hard, but it's probably the hardest thing we've ever done.
Part of it because lot of different versions, a lot of different Sleeping Beauty out there, and most of the version when she does this part, you're holding on to somebody. You're not by yourself.
Really?
All the Russian versions,
Wow. Okay.
goes. This, you hold on to the child who's using sitting there, and so you're actually resting on them. But this one, she's
you're by
sitting
yourself.
by herself, so she's
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
I actually have a quick question before you go into the steps. I actually went back and listened to my recording just of the score. You know, I have it on CD. And I was like, that shows how old I am. Oh my God, I have it on CD. And the ending part where they're turning her around, right, does not get that slow in my recording of the score. Is that something just special that they do just for y'all? We're gonna slow it down a
Hold up.
lot.
This one right here likes to balance. So what they have to do so it doesn't sound crazy is he gradually slows them down, each one of the balances, because it's supposed to go bum, promenade, bee, 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 let go. Huh. Bee, 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 let go, and bee, but then you have this time to go ping, pong, ping, pong. I mean, that's what, you know. But this one likes to balance all of them. So he slows them down, which is amazing.
So obviously, we have a wonderful conductor, and I know this one was with Armano, and I will also have Armano for this performance, and he is watching me like a hawk, and he knows exactly where I am. Sometimes I even make eye contact with him and go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's probably. We've had some amazing conductors, and actually, because when you were at ABT, he's conducted there also. And I did almost my entire career with him. He is amazing. He learns you, he feels you, he watches you.
He knows exactly what you need.
Exactly what you need. When you think you need something, you don't. You need what he's going to give you. I mean, and it saves you.
Yes.
It really does. It's a partnership. It's another relationship. It's another part of that, for sure.
Yes, we're always in sync.
Yep.
Like he knows when I'm ready to go, he will go with me. Never pushing me, never ahead of me, never after me. It's always the together.
And he knows you're.
No.
Yeah. I know, don't you love that? I do.
So I'd love to hear more about Aurora's kind of emotional journey over the course of the Rose Adagio. You were saying that she starts out not being very confident. She doesn't have that much experience with men, but then by the end, she's grown.
But did you notice that? There was by the time she goes, the music builds. The music tells you what to feel and how to feel it, right? And there's that part where we go, développé, pirouette, yeah. You know, it's just different than that girl from the beginning. Yeah.
Different step, but in the very beginning, we also do this leg goes on the side, but much slower, more tentative. But then in the end, like Lauren said, it goes more. The emotion just comes out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the excitement, I guess, of courtship, and she's experiencing that for the first time. Does she kind of prefer one of the suitors more than others? I noticed that she only lets one of them pick her up. I was thinking about that this time.
There is always one suitor that does a little more than the others, but I don't think she has her favorite. No, she's just enjoying her time and her moments and being out there. Because I think, because when Aurora was a baby, she was cursed by Carabao, saying when she pricked her finger, she will die. So she's been very protected by the king and queen, probably to not go outside, not do anything. You can't be with a lot of people, you know. Like she's been very protective until this birthday. She was free and she was getting to meet new people. So she's just very happy to be out there. Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts about why roses? I don't know. I'm always thinking about symbolism and that kind of stuff. I don't know if you discuss that kind of thing when you're working on this piece.
Well, Dame Margot Fontaine, told me it was because Aurora's favorite flower was the rose. So
I guess she would know.
I guess she would know. No, I think it's from Briar Rose, right?
That makes sense.
I think it's just her favorite flower. I don't know I've never been told anything else except for when she said that. And I believed her because I was 18 and I believed her. It was Dame Margot Fontaine.
That actually reminds me, I watched the Royal Ballet version of the Rose Adagio when I was prepping for this, and she doesn't hold on to anybody in those balances either. Yeah, she just has to do them all by herself. Yeah. I also found it interesting that it's just a little detail, but in that version, Aurora kind of throws away the roses before the final balances, but you hold on to them in this one, which is interesting.
A lot of the version, they actually give the roses to the queen before or give it to the queens on the floor. But this one, she does hold on to it, but it makes it actually difficult because you're holding on to something.
There is a set of flowers you give that's given to me.
The first set.
The first set, but then after that, you're stuck with them.
I was thinking that makes it even harder to do that because you've got to kind of deal with the prop.
You have to hold them and make them not like a bunch of roses. I mean, they have to still be an extension of the line of the arms.
The classical
They have to look
pose.
like this with roses. Right.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Especially the part that you pick up one rose at a time and you go, it's pretty fast and you have to make sure you pick it up, you go to the other hand, you're still doing the step and with your feeling, and then you pick it up again and you bring it, so you get more rose on one hand and it's coordination.
This is not good. We're not thinking about dropping roses. I've seen where a ballerina has gone. And it's just on the floor. She has to keep going and a prince just comes and picks it up.
Yes.
Yeah, that's disaster.
Well, they've let her off the hook in the Royal Ballet version because she gets to just
Well,
toss
sometimes
them away.
ballerinas are like, I'm not doing it with the roses. I mean, you know, we just do what we're told.
Yes.
Any final comments about, the particular challenges of the Rose Adagio that you want to mention that we haven't touched on?
When you get a partner that's just not quite secure or musical, you're just dependent. I mean, sometimes your life is not your own in some of the steps. I mean, you can développé if you want, but if you go step sort of arabesque and the guy doesn't bring you back so you can do the next sort of arabesque, you're in trouble. So you either have to be stronger than the man, or, so you can go, let me go, right, to get to the next thing. I mean, that's the only time
It is a little bit of a,
you have to surrender.
could be fight because you have 4 different suitors and they're all different. And you do 4 sets of steps with 4 different suitors. So your feeling is definitely different. And even the last part, just holding the hand, it's different. Some might have it higher, lower, tighter, and know where you want, but you still have to keep going. And
I mean, they try. Believe me, they all want you to succeed. They want you to, but it's.
But we're all human. We're different. So.
I think that's the biggest challenge. Besides just the length, the sheer length and strain.
It's long. Yes.
It's long.
Wonderful, thank you. I think we need to probably go to question and answer from the audience at this point.
I'm curious as to whether there's a connection with the rose having had a thorn.
Oh, that makes sense.
I mean, with the whole beginning of this whole thing of her getting pricked and.
Yeah, I like that. And I mean, in the after she falls asleep, right? There's the roses and the thorns, and the hedges grow around the castle, and the prince has to hack his way in there to get to her. So yeah, that makes sense. I like that. There was.
I just worry when you're picked up, afraid that somebody's going to drop you. And the other thing I worry about is when they twirl you around so long and then place you on the ground, how do you not be dizzy?
Do you want to talk about it? Or? Okay, so we worry that we're going to get dropped also, but actually we don't. We practice. We practice. We practice it just like we practice everything else. And generally, we're not going to be dropped because if anything goes wrong, it's the guy's fault. And and they have that guilt of, there's no, we practice. The turning is about spotting. So it's if I'm looking this way, I'm going to look this way as long as I can, and the goal is for you not to see the back of my head while I'm turning. So that's how we don't get dizzy. Oh, in the promenade, when he has our hand, and we're going around like that before we come back and let go. How do we not get dizzy? We pray. No,
That part is not fast enough to get
it's
dizzy.
not fast enough to get dizzy.
Yes.
Except that last promenade.
Yeah, that one was
It
fast.
was late.
Yes.
No, it's not. That's not fast. If we turn, we go yaga. Yeah. So that's nothing. That's just ballerina on a box. Literally, that step is literally, you open the box and it goes dee 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 dee, and you see the ballerina. That's ballerina on a box.
Except you're about to do a balance right after that. So in your mind, you're going, okay, am I on my leg? Can I let go? You're thinking of a lot of things as you're going around.
While you're going, yes. While you're going around, you're like, okay, because your bottom is burning, your toe is cramped, the back of your hamstring you cannot feel, and that's what you use to stay up. So you're just on muscle memory, literally on muscle memory, and you're going around and you're holding your back, and you're going, okay, I need to do a little more this way so that by the time I get there, I can go and let go. But there's other stuff going on while you're going.
Well, first of all, Yuriko, you always make it look so easy. I have been in the building before where I've seen you in the studio working on your own. How often do you do that? Just to work on one of your parts or a section of a dance or something?
I do practice quite a bit. Maybe not as much as when I was younger, but I was definitely what you call the bunhead when I was young. I remember Julie Ken, the director of our company, Julie Ken and I often talk about, because when we were at a ABT in New York, when we performed at the Metropolitan Opera House, I do realize, I learned that later on, that stage has a camera. So whoever's on stage, they can tell from the office. And here, theater has a different union, so it's different. But in New York at the Met, stage is open all the time. If you're not rehearsing, you can go on stage and practice. And the office knows, oh, someone's on stage, oh, that must be Yuriko. So I was always on stage practicing. Part of it also because at ABT, we were not fortunate, like Houston Ballet, we did not have a theater. We did not get to do 2 tech rehearsals, 2 dress rehearsals. We had 1 dress rehearsal with 5 different cats sharing. So maybe you get to go on stage for some part. So it was normal for us at that time. We didn't have that luxury like here to do all of that on stage. So for me, I was like, I have to go on stage and just practice. And I don't know. So I do practice often, but I did learn how to balance with my life also as I get older. But I do definitely, I like to have my own time besides the rehearsal time with the coach, so I can digest what I have practiced and talked about with the coach in that 1 hour that I get from the company. And then I do that my own, so when I have the next rehearsal, I can already apply to it, so I can move on and talk about different things, so we don't keep repeating the same, I don't want to say problem, but the things that you're working on.
Yeah, I was a practicer too. Sometimes there's more work that happens outside of the studio, just with point shoes and breaking in shoes.
Oh, point shoes.
Well, because you have to look effortless. We live in these toe coffins, right? I mean, they're literally, but you don't want it to. I like not being heard on stage, so I got to break them in. I've got to dance in them, and all that happens outside of the time that you rehearse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Yuriko, we are mere mortals, and we can't imagine performing for 3 hours or so without eating. So when do you eat? What do you eat? Do you eat during any breaks? How do you keep your energy level up?
I do worry, actually. I do worry. I was like, okay, what happens if I get hungry? But no, when you are on stage, you are in that moment that you don't have time to think about eating for sure. But I do like to have, kind of like the athlete, same thing, have carb before the performance. If you don't have a good amount of carb, you can't get through the whole ballet. And if you don't have enough fuel, you will cramp on stage for sure. And I will put minerals or some kind of things in my drink throughout the performance. But after the performance, you're not hungry, and then 30 minutes later, you will get starved. You realize how much you have just burned on stage. But like right now, I'm definitely doing the act, doing between Act 1 and Act 2, Act 2 and Act 3. I do snack on something, whether it's a half a banana or piece of chocolate or something. I do not go entire ballet without food. I do have something between the acts. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's funny that you asked that, because my first Sleeping Beauty was done with the Queen. The person that played the Queen, who was Carmen Maté at the time, was in my dressing room. And I do the prologue, and I come back, and there's an apple slice on my thing. And then I come back, and there's a little bitty cracker with peanut butter on it. Like just one like Triscuit with peanut butter. I'm like, what's that gonna do? She goes, eat, darling. You need it, eat, you know. And the night before, I definitely had a pasta, carb, just crazy carb filled with, at 60, I would not do. But I mean, you know, back then, I was carving it up because you have, I mean, the myth is that dancers don't eat. No, we dance 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. So we're burning it off, right? We eat a lot. But during the show, that adrenaline thing, you don't really want to eat anything that's gonna, you have to drink, you have to hydrate. So we used to put electrolytes in my water. But yeah, or half a banana, ooh, I couldn't do a banana. But I did a Triscuit with peanut butter.
How many pairs of point shoes do you go through in one performance? And also, Yuriko, my father and I were blessed to watch you at Nutcracker. How long were you on point doing that one hold? Yes. I was hitting my dad going, Dad, this is amazing.
How many shoes do you go through in one show?
I am in the point shoot crisis, I want to say. This particular performance, actually, all the dancers were, in a way, laughing because I actually have two different shoes. One is one maker called Block, and one was a Capizio. That never happens in the dancers. You always wear the same brand, but I didn't have any shoes at that time that I had to switch it off. It's not that I don't have any shoes, but I'm still looking for my Cinderella shoes. How many years later? So every shoes I'm getting right now, what we call the trial, I can't quite say I like this shoe. So can I order a company 50 pairs? But I cannot do that because every shoes it's been coming in has not been fitting me quite right, how I want it. So it's hard for me to say how many pairs I go through, but I want to say I don't go through shoes as many pairs as some other dancers who likes newer shoes. I actually like my shoes to be a little more soft and what we call it dead shoes. Some like it very hard so they can stay more straight, but I like my shoes a little more bent. So my shoes are a little bit of a bendy side. So maybe I go through the shoes a little bit less than the other dancers. But right now I probably have about 6-7 pairs on the side. Not sure if they're good enough, but like to be prepared for next week's Sleeping Beauty.
So I'm going to ask you a question. So in one show, do you wear, and I know the answer to this, but this might be, how many different shoes do you wear throughout one performance?
3.
3. One for each act? Yeah. Yeah, I think that's more
usually
of what you wanted. Yeah. So As a younger dancer, this is my experience. As a younger dancer, I wore harder shoes because I didn't know any better. As a more experienced dancer, I found that I wanted softer shoes also. And when I got to a point in my career that I felt comfortable being a mature dancer, my feet, I had the same crisis. I'm like, what am I gonna do? And so I switched shoes to Suffolk's. I used to wear whatever I used to wear, all the many shoes I used to wear. And then all of a sudden I found this shoe. Then I retired, but not that you were retiring. But I finally found this shoe that was the shoe, and it was the one that I went through the Stanton years with. And they're in the Smithsonian. Ciao. Yeah. But they were the shoe, right? It's coming. Baby, your shoe is coming. Someday your shoe will come. But I mean, but the thing is, she says that, and I can't believe it, because when I was dancing, when I first started dancing, there were two kinds of shoes. You had Freeze and Campizios. Now you have shoes from everywhere, and everybody's got 85 different kinds. So your feet are just confused. They just can't figure it out. There's so many choices, too many choices.
Could be.
I like a
see
big
how
shoe, too.
a different shoe would make all the difference to that moment in the Rose Adagio where you have to roll down from point.
Yes.
Yeah. I still not sure how you do that.
The balancing part is not the shoe part. The roll down part and the pirouettes part is the shoe part, believe it or not. Yeah.
I believe it. I think we have to finish. Is that right? One last? Okay.
Thank you so much. It's really delightful to see your enjoyment of what you're doing, and especially Miss Anderson. What makes this, it just looks like it's so much fun for you. What makes it keep on being so fun?
I'm in a very interesting position. I've literally been with Houston Ballet for 52 years. I've seen all the things. I'm still watching all the things. But there's nothing like becoming music, right? Like physically becoming music and getting to tell a story with your body and your emotions and whatever. But I get to give it back. The way you keep it is by giving it back. So I teach and I get to coach, and I know what I'm good at is coaching. I cannot choreograph my way out of a paper bag. It's not happening. I'm not trying anymore. I suck. However, but I can teach, I can coach what I've done. I can coach the Stevenson style for sure, and any ballets that I've done. I can set a ballet, and I get to go and, I get to teach and give it back. I love it. There's nothing like the world. It's special. It's special. It's a special gift, this ballet thing. And I've been fortunate to do it here for a very long time.
Thank you so much. I think we have to finish, but thank you both so much. I just love hearing you all talk about what you do. It's just wonderful. Thank you, and thank you all for being here.